All right, well, we're live, and I managed to actually be here on time. This is quite the accomplishment for me. Maybe I'm not myself. Maybe I'm someone else. Because usually V is always late. But I got some interesting stories for you guys today. Let me just shill the thing. It requires a little bit of shilling. Not a lot, just a little bit. And I should have done it before. For some reason, I'm doing it now. Did you know that Romania actually has central bank digital currency for apparently the last 10 years, and I just didn't know about it. So I'm going to talk about that in a bit. Okay, so here in Romania, and most people that are from my country probably know, um, we have something, and I wonder like if these things exist in America, but just because they're called the same doesn't mean they may be the same. It's called meal tickets. I know that America has meal tickets, but the ones in Romania they function very peculiar. So I want to know if it's the same. They look like this, right? And when you go to work at the end of the month, you used to. I don't know if they still give them. I think now they're actually in digital format. But you would get these, and they would be like $20 each, I think. But they had a couple of caveats. Number one, you had to use your ID when using them. Number two, you had to write down on them. You had to write your social security number, your name on them. You couldn't buy anything you wanted. You could only buy food, with the exception of cigarettes, alcohol, and sugary drinks. So you couldn't use them to buy a television set. You couldn't use them to buy alcohol. You couldn't use them to buy like a plane ticket. They would expire after one year, and let's see what else they had. In some cases, like you couldn't use them in another country, right? They had like a couple more issues with them, but suffice to say they're incredibly similar to CBDC. Obviously, I mean they could track where the transaction took place because you're writing the social security number on them. They expire after a while, so they have like many things in common, and I'm curious if it's the same in the United States. Like, unfortunately, they were quite popular here, and it was so annoying when you had the person that was in front of you in line, and they were using these atrocities, especially if they didn't know what exactly they want to buy, and you don't get the exchange for them, right? So, like, if they're $20 and you want to buy something that's worth 10, you don't get change in return. So you need to make sure that you're buying exactly, and most of these people like wouldn't know what they bought, so they would stand there like a lemon and holding the queue. We need these in Canada. Too many people use their welfare checks to buy drugs. Well, that's how they're selling CBDC, by the way. Like one of the reasons it expires and one of the reasons you can only buy like meal tickets is they're saying, well, it's to use it for welfare. But I'm afraid, like, if you get a cashless society and everything is tracked, and especially with this environmentalist nonsense, then it's going to be to the detriment of people rather than, oh, well, now the people on welfare can't buy drugs. And I want to say something else. Despite the fact that you couldn't use them to buy cigarettes, people still use them to buy cigarettes. So basically, like in your case, the dealer may require like double the amount of money in food stamps, right? So like that he uses that in order. It's not like you can just manage to bypass the system. Like barter always exists and is going to exist. So you know this whole thing with like replacing money, I don't know like if it's going to actually be as effective as they think it is. You are frequently very insightful with great modern analogies, and thank you for the well, I appreciate it. I do try. I used to get those while back, but not writing on them. They just gave them as optional bonus to normal wages. Yeah, it was bonus to normal wage, but you would have to write on them. Like I remember, if you didn't write on them, they weren't valid. So really, when you need documentation, even when you want to buy a used car with cash. Yeah, I mean, you do need documentation to buy a used car with cash. But that's the thing. Alright, so people use the tide as courtesy. What, the tide? I'm not sure what that is, but right. Here's something interesting. I don't know who this lady is. Maybe you guys are watching her channel. But I noticed like these people having these very interesting takes. So well, one of the main reasons you have these takes, by the way, is due to social media. It's simply just popular to say these things because they go viral. And as you can see here, this lady actually has like 2.3 million views. So let's listen to what she has to say.
On the subject of King Kong, there's think pieces.
She sounds like Aidan Paladin. I do not know who this lady is, but she sounds like Aidan Paladin.
About various ways it can be interpreted, but I don't think it's exactly controversial to suggest that a movie made in the 30s about a giant savage ape who is captured by white men, transported across the ocean in chains, and then abducts a white woman could possibly have some racial coding involved. And for the sake of my comment...
So, I never watched King Kong and I felt like a bunch of white men. You know? Just like when I watch something that's coming from Japan, I don't think like a bunch of Japanese men. Sorry, a bunch of Asian men. Or when I see a movie that's coming from China. Like, I used to watch a lot of Kung Fu. I was like a bunch of Chinese men. It is such a bizarre take, right? Like the whole thing with the movies back in the day, it was to break immersion. Like how can you watch a massive gorilla and you're thinking, analogy to black person? Like, it's kind of like a Rorschach test. You know, like if someone shows you the Blob and it looks like a butterfly, but you see a guy with a knife, like, that says a lot more about you than you think about other people. Like, it's not my fault that this lady is projecting so hard that, like, she sees something and she expects everyone else to see it. It's not even like white people. It's Americans, by the way. Like, please stop comparing me with you. Like, I want to disassociate if it's possible, right? Like, I don't want to be in the same pot. Like, please. I'm a Romanian, all right? Romanian. It's in another part of the world. Alright, different culture, different history. Stop mishmashing me together. I'm pretty sure your culture is lovely and wonderful, and it gave birth to all this critical commentary. But keep me the fuck out of it, por favor. Secondly, is this whole thing with the idea that a movie has to be it has to have a political message. No, it doesn't, right? But like the most important thing is that she is saying that this was taking place in the 1930, right? So, like, if it was in the 1930, then it had to be racist. And my thing is like, well, why would they cover racism in 1930? Why couldn't it just be, like, flat-out racist then? Like, nothing would stop them. I mean, it's the 1930s, right? So, like, why couldn't they just be open about it? Oh, maybe that this wasn't a movie about racism. Not everything has to be about racismus. There can be something that aren't about racismus. Like, even in communism, not everything was about socialism, believe it or not. Like, they legitimately had songs and certain movies that did not have a political message. Not everything needs to have a political message. Now, of course, when they say that, they will try to express that, oh no, like, political means, like, the most broader sense imaginable. The most broader sense imaginable. That's the Mott. And the Bailey is, like, the most narrow sense imaginable, right? So, like, they want you to believe that everything is political in the most narrow sense of the word, so that they can shove their politics in the most narrow sense. Anyway.
Comment section, please do not try to defend the political sensitivity of a movie made in 1933.
Because she knows that this is a bad take. There is no other way. She is 100% aware, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that this is a bad take. She expects the backlash, so she's going to be like, oh, please don't give backlash. Well, I'm sorry, the backlash needs to happen. You can't say something so ridiculous. I mean, look at this. Ratio to high heaven, 2.3 million views. You can't say something this disingenuous, right? Like, there is no way for you to know what the original author of that movie entailed. Like you consider yourself to be the arbiter of objective judgment. Like you managed to go back in time and you ask the author, it's like when you made King Kong, were you racist? And the author said yes. And you're like, now I know. I need to go back into my timeline to teach the masses. But it's not like that. It's just like, man, like notice how like these criticisms didn't exist 10 years ago, right? Like didn't exist 20 years ago. Like it seems that mankind's knowledge for more than 70 years wasn't able to figure out that that movie was racismus. But luckily, today we have YouTubers that have figured it out for us. I've watched this lady. They don't do modern art commentary well. Well, the thing is, man, have you met creationists? Like, unironically, they used to be under the Bush era. They didn't believe in evolution. Like, they literally wanted to abolish the concept of evolution, right? So creationists believed that, like, legit, unironically, they believed that the Earth is 6,000 years old. Right? Like, and some of them were scientists, like people in prestigious positions. And the way that they did it was that, okay, this is the conclusion. Normally, when you do science, you do the scientific theory. So the scientific theory says you have a hypothesis, right? So like you presume something. You presume that if you drop an apple, it's going to fall to the ground, right? So you have the hypothesis. Then you have to do an experiment, right? So you have to prove your hypothesis with an experiment. And after the experiment, you have the conclusion. So if the conclusion validates your hypothesis, then it means, so if the experiment validates your hypothesis, then it means the conclusion is correct. Now, once you get a correct conclusion, then you subject it to a peer review. And allegedly, other people have to reproduce your experiment using the same data and arrive at the same results. And if they can't, then your experiment is wrong, right? So the creationists were doing it backwards. Instead of having like, this is the hypothesis, let's do the experiment, let's arrive to the conclusion, they would already state that the conclusion is the fact that the Earth is 6,000 years old. Now, what type of experiments can we do in order to figure that out? And then they would skim the data. They would ignore the things that contradict them. They would only accept the things that didn't contradict them. So anyway, my point is that this is the same thing we're witnessing now with racismus. Like, you have a couple of individuals like Rita Sarkeesian that would look at Mario and they would say, okay, well, this video game is clearly because of sexism. Like, Mario rescuing the princess is sexism. She didn't take into account that the developers weren't sexist, never asked the developers, doesn't even care what the developers have to say. She doesn't care the fact that when Mario came out, cartridges only had, I think it's like less than 500 kilobytes worth of data, so you couldn't actually have like a long and compelling story. You could only fit a very small, repetitive game. So the story had to be like really, really small in order for people to like just know what's going on. But you couldn't go into details, right? So she would ignore all that in order to push her agenda, which was like, of course, the game is sexist. I feel like I saw somewhere that the scientific method is white culture. They believe that white culture is meritocratic capitalism. So even Japan, like they will unironically say so. Even Japan is capitalistic. And therefore, it's white culture, right? Well, it is what it is. The story was in the game manual. Yeah. It ended up that most video games back then came with the game manual, and the game manual would have a story. But even the game manual, like, they couldn't actually have like a big book. Like, the game manual was a very small book. I think it was like kind of like this size, right? So imagine like a little booklet this size. And you had maybe like 20 or 30 pages. And most of those pages were like talking about the controls and talking about like, if you get the mushroom, you grow big. And if you grow big, then you can take one hit and you're not going to die. And if you take the mushroom and then you get another mushroom, it's actually a flower, and the flower gives you a power-up. That's the most thing that the manual talked about. And you had like maybe 3 or 4 small pages where they did go and talk about the story. But like, again, it wasn't even like a proper story. It was more like a setting. So it will say like, okay, well, this is the Mushroom Kingdom and this is the princess and you have to rescue her. But it was like to compare it with modern video games, to even think that they were trying to push political messages. But again, unironically, the people from Polygon believe that Tetris is pushing a political message. So it's like talking to creationists. Unironically, like there's no debate. There's nothing to talk about. Like they've made their mind already, and there's nothing you can say, claim, or do in order to persuade them that is not the case. White culture is progressive culture. Ugh. Isn't Mario like 84 kilobytes? I don't know how big it is. All I know is that it reuses a lot of assets. Like, for example, all the blocks, you know, that they're repetitive, so that like that's why all the blocks look the same, right? So that they can reuse the same asset. When you're walking forward, the background is just blue, so it's being reused. Like they did a lot of tricks in order to make the game look a lot bigger than it actually is. Because when you look at Mario, yeah, it's very small because like almost everything is constantly reused. All the assets, everything. So the game is very small. The toads were turned into the blocks you were breaking. I didn't know that. But what I do know is that like a lot of enemies were just color swap palettes of each other. So yeah, I mean it's a different time. It's a different system. Like to even claim that the developers were like, oh, we're misogynistic, so we're putting this in the game. It's ridiculous. The reason they did all of that is because back then there were a lot of fairy tales about the prince rescuing the princess. Which, by the way, is something that I consider to be very manly and something that everyone should do. In fact, there were a couple of video games that mocked this concept. And it's like, okay, well, let's do what Anita wants, right? And there was like this video game, I remember, where some terrorist kidnaps your girlfriend, right? So you have two choices. You can either go right and you play the actual game trying to rescue your girlfriend. Or you press the left button and you go back into your car and the hero drives off and says, like, plenty of fish in the sea. And unironically, I guess, like, that's what Anita Sarkeesian would have wanted, right? Like, that is a very feminist game where if the woman gets kidnapped, you go like, well, she can figure it out. Obviously, like, the manly thing to do, I mean, this is not even within question. It's like traditional gender roles or bullshit. Like, everywhere around the world. It doesn't really matter what culture. It doesn't matter what timeline. But basically, if a dog appears and is barking in front of a family, the man is always going to go in front of the woman. Every single fucking time. It's like instinct. Like you're hardwired to do that. Like by the time you realize what the fuck is that you're doing, it's already too late. You're between the woman and the dog. Like that is like a natural, healthy impulse for a man to have, is to protect his loved ones, to protect his family. I mean, I don't even understand why this needs debating. The very concept, by the way, that imagine like you're with your wife upstairs, right? And a person breaks in the house. Are you going to send the wife down to investigate while you call the cops, or is it going to be the other way around? Like she called the cops and you go downstairs to investigate. Are you going to give her the gun? And you're sitting there like a coward? I don't know, but I guess like that's what progressivism would be. Like that moment you're like, I identify as non-binary, darling. I'm sorry, but you're on your own. I am non-binary. I will call the cops. You take a bath and you go down there and handle shit. Go check that person. Let Peach have interracial babies with Bowser. I don't even know like Bowser wants to have babies with her. Like I don't even think they're the same species. It might not even be compatible. The Brooklyn gentleman that got stabbed. Like I gotta say, I don't know. This is very weird. Oh, Elon cocked the ADL. Holy shit. But anyway, right, so well, we'll talk about Elon cocking the ADL in a bit. But The reason that this is weird, and I'll show you something very bizarre. Where is it? Okay. There have been 4 individuals this month which have promoted the concept of, some form of abolishing the police, right? And all of them got killed by criminals. Like, some of them had criminals break into their home, other people got killed by criminals on the street. It's so fucking bizarre. I mean, there's 2 ways of explaining it. Number 1, they were targeted. Number 2, the crime rate is so fucking high that even rich people are now getting targeted. So let me see if I can find the thing. The most bizarre thing is that there is Scott Adams. You guys probably know him, right? I mean, this was just... I don't even know, like, what to say. So I'm trying to find the post. But basically, Scott Adams made a post on Twitter last year, I think. And he said something in the lines of, if Joe Biden gets elected, people are going to get killed. And this leftist journalist is saying that, wow, what a dumb prediction. And literally the next day he gets killed. And I'm like, bruh. I'm trying to find where that thing is. Because it was like one of those tweets. Here we go. Like, this is the most bizarre thing that I have seen on the internet. Like, unironically, it is just one of the most bizarre things. So you have, like, just look at it. You have Scott Adams saying, if Biden is elected, there's a good chance he will be dead within the year. And this is like 2020, right? So all of a sudden, this journalist says, the Dilbert dude is like Nostradamus. Look at his prediction from 2020. Wow, eerie. Right? Like, he mocks this guy. And literally the next day, you see Scott Adams posting, didn't realize he was shot to death yesterday for not getting away from the hellhole in which he lived. I mean, dude, like, this is the most eerie stuff that I have seen on the internet, unironically. Like, hi V, hope things are good. A lot of coding today. Why do you make me do this, Outlier? Now I can say a coding joke. But you know what? After you super chat me, I can't. I need to be nice to my donors, because otherwise I will get less money. But again, like, he is not the only one that passed away this month. Like, in a month, 3 to 4 proeminent left-leaning people that supported abolishing the police got killed by criminals. Either on the street or in their own homes. It's just bizarre. I genuinely, like... So there was, like, the CEO lady, there was this journalist, and there were, I think there's 2 more people. But it's so weird. Okay, so, Scott Adams is very chill about it, by the way. Look at this one. This one is also very interesting. Right. I actually knew about this, but I never bothered talking about it because it's like, oh, whatever. You know, there is like this modern trend of disparaging, I guess, like the British and the French for having museums in which they store Egyptian relics, right? So like pharaohs, mummies, that type of stuff. And the idea is that they're stealing it, right? It's the same with Indiana Jones. It's like, when he says that belongs in a museum, they literally think that Indiana Jones means stealing it. Like, the whole thing with Indiana Jones saying that it belongs in a museum is that he could actually get very wealthy from any of those treasures. Like, he personally could decide to pickpocket that gem or whatever it is, and he would make hundreds of millions of dollars and live well off until he was old. But because, like, he had the job, he was an archaeologist, he decided that it belongs in a museum. Now, I actually spoke with Egyptians, believe it or not, because when I was at the University of Medicine, there were many Egyptians there. And all of them, not a single one disagreed, but all of them said the exact same thing, which is, this isn't about the British, but it's related. While I was in Egypt, one of the locals we were hanging out in Cairo said this, that thank Allah for the French because they came and saved the history of our people. Before the French, we did not care. No one cared. It was just rocks in the sand. No one remembered our history. But the French saw the artifacts, they were amazed, and did whatever they could to save and study it. They saved our history. Now the people today, we know our history because we're proud to be Egyptian. This is what also happened with Netflix when they made the Black Cleopatra and they actually met the Egyptians. I know it's astonishing, but there are, like most nations around the world, are proud of their heritage, including Egypt. And Egypt doesn't appreciate when people denigrate their history. So yeah, like Egypt genuinely likes the fact that the French and the British took the relics from their country and put them in museums that the entire world gets to see. Those museums are there for other people to see. Like, they're not hidden in a box somewhere. They're not, like in an underground vault. No, they're for the public to go and see. There is absolutely no fucking reason why you would be outraged about it. I mean, I as a Romanian would be proud if Romanian relics were in a British museum so that more people get to see them. Fuck is wrong with that? It's cosmic retribution, I guess. Probably targeted. I don't think so. I don't think so. Like, again, he was just like a normal left-leaning journalist. I do not believe that he was doing anything that was controversial with the powers that be, so. V, by ethnicity, Melugojun, I am mixed race, but the racial politics is bad. It's steering American society. The civil rights movement fought for my rights, but leave it to the past. Well, it is unfortunate. There's nothing I can say about that. It's not a good idea to leave them there. I mean, we saw what happened in Syria, right? Not necessarily Syria as well. The Islamic State of Iran and Syria. Yeah, like when ISIS came, they destroyed a lot of the heritage, a lot of the important statues and monuments. Wouldn't it have been nice if they were in a museum? I'm just asking, like those were priceless artifacts. I think like Sargon was having an aneurysm when he was seeing like all of these people with sledgehammers just destroying these priceless artifacts. And you're like, okay, well, what is the argument there? And all these leftists upset that, oh my god, well, they're holding the relics in a British museum or in a French museum. Well, aren't you upset that they're being destroyed? But it is what it is, What can you say? Even Egypt not like this. Yeah. I mean, honestly, I kind of get it in a way. It's due to the fact that, like, if you're an Islamic theocracy, like, most of these relics are considered sacrilegious. And I guess like it kind of makes sense because, like, the Egyptians worship false gods, but still, like, they're part of your history, I guess like even the Christians did the same. They didn't destroy the statues though, but they would cover them with leaves. So like they literally so like the Romans they had an obsession with cocks. Like unironically, look Roman phallus, and you will see that they had like little statues of penises, and they had wings, and out of those penises came like other little penises. No, I'm not kidding. Like Romans were obsessed with sculpting penises. Like it was just a fascination. I don't know why. But if you look at some of their statues, all of them are naked, right? So like when the Christians came up, they were like, okay, well, let's put a towel on the statue, let's put a leaf on the statue. I mean, it is what it is. I want Melusion history in a museum all around the world. We need to preserve our culture. Man, like everyone wants their culture to be preserved, right? And it's kind of like the way I view it is would I be upset if like a big YouTuber, let's say PewDiePie, took my videos and put them on his channel? Would I consider that stealing? I'd be like, no, like thank you for preserving my work, making sure that more people get to see it. To be fair, the leaf is pretty tasteful. Yeah, but like, that is something with the original vision of the author, you know? Like, I don't like us putting our modern morality on the past. The past happened. If it's gruesome, it should be a warning. If it's pleasant, we should try to reproduce it. I don't think that it's good to just use our morality and try to censor the past. It's like, oh, well, now we don't draw statues that... sorry, we don't sculpt statues that way, and therefore... No, fuck off. But yes, the leaf is definitely more tasteful than them destroying statues, I do agree. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about male models. Are there any male role models, by the way? Like, unironically, question for the chat. Do you guys look up to any actor? Do you look up to any male celebrity? Do you look up to, you know, like any guy that you like to, it's not that you look up to, but like, if you were to give an advice, you'd be like, yeah, that's good advice, I'll go to take it. I'm thinking about it, and I just... Elon Musk. Elon Musk is not necessarily like a bad role model, I guess. I mean, sure, you know, he did have like many wives and stuff, but at the end of the day, he is successful. Elon Musk is not a bad example. Jeff Goldblum, I've no idea who they is. Henry Cavill is a good role model. Absolutely. Henry Cavill would be a number one. Like he is fit, works out, is very charismatic. Sargon a good role model? I would say he is. I think like Sargon, you know, being a father, having a business, he lives a good life. Yeah, I can say Sargon is a good role model. I can't deny that. Ron Paul. I don't watch him that much, so I don't know. Nicolas Cage. Isn't he old, man? Like, I mean, I'm not saying that he can't be a role model, but... Shadiversity. Is Shadiversity a good role model? Why? I mean, I don't know much about him. All I know is that he makes historical videos, and that's cool. But, like, I don't know about his life. I don't know about his dreams and aspirations. I don't know what type of man he is. He's the type of content creator that keeps his life private. George Floyd. Is George Floyd a good role model? What exactly did he do to inspire people? Why? PewDiePie is a great role model. I think that PewDiePie is the basic role model. I mean, the man got, you know, was hardworking, got married, donated a lot. If you look, no one in the media, you know, they all talk about PewDiePie's racist jokes. They don't talk about his donations to South Africa. They don't talk about his donations to fight AIDS. He goes to Japan. He learns Japanese. Yeah, no, PewDiePie is actually an amazing role model. That's actually a good point. Yeah, he's genuinely kind at heart. This is the reason why when he got robbed, like his house got broken into, and the internet was upset, there was like one social justice activist which was cheering that it happened, and everyone attacked them. It's like, what do you mean you're happy that it's PewDiePie? What the fuck? The only non-fictional men I look up to when I was growing up was Frederick Douglass and Hale Jordan of the Green Lantern. Thomas Sowell is a good role model. I think Thomas Sowell makes good arguments. But like, if you're a teenager and you're trying to grow up and you want to know how to date, who would you look up to? Jordan Peterson used to be based. Now he's a little bit cuckoo. I'm sorry, but like when he is like, Justin Trudeau, you take my car and you'll see my fury. And I'm like, what are you going to do if he takes your car? Like, you're even afraid to articulate it because it's social media. You're not going to do shit. Why are you like this, Jordan? Joe Rogan is a very good role model. That is true. Andrew Tate for dating. I don't know what he says, but like when I look at the man, I don't like it. I mean, he is an individual that is a e-thought factory. Like his whole shtick is to seduce women and get them to do OnlyFans. He likes to sleep around. Is not serious, doesn't commit. That doesn't make you happy, by the way. It's not a fulfilling lifestyle. I don't know what he says when it comes to dating, though, so... Frank Castle is a good role model. Frank Castle is a horrible role model. Frank Castle ended up in prison. Frank Castle ended up being cocked in the comic books. I don't know, did you guys read the last comic books with Frank Castle? He gets cocked. So just so you know, the destruction of Frank Castle, alright? So in the latest comic books, I'm not making this up, it actually happened. It's in Marvel Comics, official. His wife gets resurrected. So they resurrect his wife. And then his wife says that in that day, at the picnic, she actually wanted to divorce him. But she got shot before she could, right? So, now that his wife is back, she filed a divorce, took half his shit, and the other half she also took, and she donated it to charity. So she literally robs Frank Castle, and then she goes to sleep around with another guy. That's the comic books. See, I get people in the chat going, what? Going nonny? Yes, that's canon. It happened. It's by Marvel Comics. Alright? Go watch manga. Spare yourself the horror. Jocko Willink is a good male role model. I do not know who Jocko Willink is. I'm sorry. I genuinely do not know the man. Why would you think anyone who views you would read current comics? No, I know you don't. But I do. I do so you don't have to, okay? This is why you watch me, to stay informed. And I'm telling you what is happening in Marvel Comics with Frank Castle. I'm not kidding. Like what I just told you, it's a legit story. I generally don't get the appeal of John Wick, to be honest. It's kind of boring. It's got like some interesting aspects, but the gunfights to me aren't very well done. I probably said some blasphemy, didn't I? But it is what it is. You know, The Matrix had cool gunfights. And I'm pretty sure there's a... But like, usually he doesn't even go into fucking cover. Do you know what actually had cool gunfights? Daredevil, the TV show. Like, that one actually looked cool. And the fights were realistic. But like, John Wick is kind of... I mean, I guess like if you're a teenager, it's nice. But it doesn't really strike me as amazing. It's a good movie. It's like, nah, you go and you saw John Wick. Yeah, it's good. But like... I think I know why. It's kind of like the movies and the TV shows I grew up with, where 100 people fire at one guy and no one manages to hit. Like, they all fucking miss. And that's what I didn't like. What's my opinion on Kevin Sorbo? I think Kevin Sorbo... We're talking about Hercules, right? So Kevin Sorbo is genuinely a Christian individual. Like, he believes in Jesus. And unfortunately for him, his belief have ostracized him from Hollywood. He's a great actor. The man can definitely act. I mean, we saw Hercules in space. We saw Hercules itself. I think he is kind-hearted as well. And he's very opinionated. But, yeah, that's what I think. I think he is a good role model, of course. Nobody even dares to question the Ring fight scenes. I don't know that. Indiana Jones and the Dial. John gets shot multiple times, and the injuries don't just magically disappear like in the other movies. Oh my god. Why does he never get shot in the head, though? I mean, unironically, there's so many people fighting at him with full semi-automatic weapon ghost guns of war that you would think like someone would hit him in the head. But, no, like... It is a good movie, but not for me. Not for me. It's kind of meh. I don't like the gunfights. What can I say? I guess like when you play too many first-person shooters, you kind of expect that. Look, if you're not in cover, you're going to get shot. John Wick, most of the times, is not in cover. And yeah, he gets shot. But never in the head. No one headshots. It's just kind of weird. Not to mention, Keanu Reeves is a little bit old. Well, nothing bad, but like, I think like it used to be like this is the sad part. It used to be that actors were casted based on their part, right? So like you would cast in the role of John Wick a young muscular actor. And someone old would play the role of a mentor. They would play the role of a father. But now most of the actors that are good are old. Like, we don't really get new actors. They haven't really made their names. The new celebrities are VTubers, people on Twitch. These are the new celebrities. The old celebrities no one gives a fuck about. So now you have, like, all these old men, like Harrison Ford, playing Indiana Jones. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, you got, like, this old man that's flinging a whip and firing a gun. How is that even remotely believable? And it's not just him. It's like the geriatric squad. Whatever, like... the best example, holy shit. The best example is Picard Season 3. Some people say it's good. I'm pretty sure it is. But, like, I just couldn't. So you have, like, a starship, which is, like, a military operation, I assume. I don't know how they treated it in that season, but... And it was filled with old people. It was geriatrics in space. It's like, what are you doing? Go retire. But again, is the whole thing... Like, let me hold on. Let me put it up. Is the whole thing with... They don't have good actors anymore, and everything is a sequel and a reimagining. So they have to, like, cast some of the oldest people imaginable. Here we go. Picard Season 3. I'm trying to find a... Oh, here we go. No, this one isn't good because they're... Like, even on the posters, they're doing the best in order to de-age them. But there was a poster that didn't de-age them, and it actually showed the actors the way they are. And they all have white hair, and they all have wrinkles, and they look like they should be at home relaxing, enjoying time with the kids. Definitely not in space. Yeah, I'm trying to find it, but I can't, though. I'm pretty sure, like, some of you must have seen it. And it's like... I guess like some people like the fact that, oh well, it's a reunion. You know, like it's been so many years and now we get to see them all together. But there was a time for that, and I think that time has passed. Get some new actors, get some new faces. But that's the problem, there aren't any. Thank you for becoming a member, Paul Damok. I really appreciate it. And also thank you for the super chat, American Outlier, Thomas Sowell, Milton Friedman, Ron Paul Waller. Oh my fucking god. William Lysander, Spooner Hayek, Ludwig von Mises. I'm going to butcher a name and you're going to read. Clarence Thomas, Larry Elder, Murray Rothbard, Andrew, Jackson Calvin, Colditch. Dude, I'm getting tired from reading the book names. Thomas DiLorenzo, to name a few. Chat, please tell American Outlier to stop reading. Fuck is wrong with him? I don't understand. Like, first of all, we have audiobooks in our timeline, okay? Like, you literally go online and you click on audiobook, and there is a twat that's going to read the Milton Friedman to you. Like, you do not need to actually read the book in 2023. I gotta say, chat, I really have an adversity towards reading books. Sargon is triggering me every single time when he's like, read this book, read that book, and I'm like, how about you go fuck yourself? Like, I do not want to read books. To be fair, I did finish med school, I did finish law school. I've read so many books that I got a phobia. Like when you bring the book to me, I am already in terror. It's horrible. It's gotten so bad that when someone tells me that they're reading a book, it triggers me. Like, please do it without my knowledge. Like, if you want to read the book, that's fine. But, like, don't tell me about it. Stop reading. Just watch VTubers. That is a good point. Oh, now look. They're talking about Dan Iran. See, I should learn to ban people. God. Atlas Shrugged is a really good book, by the way. You should read that. But I gotta, instead of reading Atlas Shrugged, you know, how about you go play Bioshock? How about that? Just go fucking play Bioshock instead of reading the book. Go play Bioshock. It's a lot more fun than sitting there and reading. Yandere Dev got in trouble for grooming and his voice actors quit. Who's Yandere Dev? I guess, like, I should know. I should be within the industry. Got in trouble for grooming. Man, if it was up to me. See, the thing is, like, I know what I want, but I don't know how to implement it. Any person under the age of 18 should be kicked off the internet. Like, unironically, the world would be a better place. Then you wouldn't have any more legislation to protect kids. And when they do that, they also have to try and end encryption. Try and use AI in order to spy on people. Like, no, the solution would be no more kids on the internet. But the problem is, like, how do you implement that? Because the only way to implement it would be, like, government ID. Like, you need to use an ID in order to access the internet. And that would be also problematic. So I know what I want, I just don't know how to implement it. The guy who made the Yandere Simulator, a game famously banned from Twitch. Well, why was he grooming people then? Is it confirmed though, or is it just a rumor? Yeah, I heard the name. He's a Patreon dev and forever milkball. But I will tell you something about the hentai industry now. There's two types of hentai game developers. There's the one that are in the forever milk mode. So they set up a Patreon. Or maybe they set up a Subscribestar or whatever. And then they may have like a version of the game that's like semi-functional. And they update it like once every year, or maybe twice every year. and they give the backers to play that. And they will forever develop the game. It will never be finished. They make like $3,000, $6,000 a month. And they just keep working on that game. They just keep working on it. Maybe they will show you some pictures, like some updates every now and then. But like other than that, they just keep working, right? I don't even know what the fuck they do with money. And then there's other developers that are like, they want to create the Mona Lisa. Like that. Like they will burn cash like no tomorrow. Usually like their own money from their pockets. Just to create like the Picasso of hentai. Forever Milk Mode is a terrible place where good hentai games go to die. But it's true. It is so fucking true. There's like so many games that get into that. And I told my publisher, no. Pushing out the game. Like I'm releasing, and if it's not good enough, like if I don't feel it has enough content, then I'll make free DLC. But I'm not going to forever dev this. It's like no. No. The story with Subverse is really complex. Like, that game doesn't even know what it wants to be. Like, at first it was hentai, but then they wanted adventure. The thing with Subverse, it just doesn't make sense thematically either. So like, they have a game where you get... Like the problem is, when you have a... It's not just about hentai game, any type of game. When you have, like... two type of game modes, right? So like think about XCOM. You got the base building aspect. You got the geolocation, right? The one where you have like the globe. And then you have like the tactical combat. They all need to flawlessly meld into one another. The thing with Subverse is that you go and you fly this little ship in various arcade scenarios. And then you have like some tactical chess-like combat. And then you get like some hentai scenes. And it's like, well, what the fuck are you trying to do? Like, what type of game is this? How do one play into... It doesn't. Makes no fucking sense. Developers need to learn the concept of a minimum shippable product. The problem is, it's not just the developers, it's also the audience, right? Like, and I understand the audience, because like I myself play video games. Most consumers do not differentiate between an indie dev and a AAA dev. Especially if your game actually starts looking really good. So if your game starts looking really good, to the point where it's like AA, the expectations become higher, but no one asks like how much money did you start off with and how much did you invest in order to get the game to that point. So if the developer releases too early, then he may alienate the market. So I understand like why some developers are really afraid about it. Remember the Skullgirls censorship fiasco? Apparently the developer has been doing a lot of digging into it, and apparently it goes way deeper than just the new progressive devs getting salty with old designs. It always is deeper. Like, dude, you can't really convince me that the developers were like, okay, well, we don't like this, so we're going to censor it. Like, it must be some other reason. They must be making money from that censorship. There's no fucking way. Either they want ESG investment, either they want to publish their game on a platform that wouldn't allow them with that. I don't fucking know what it is, but it literally can't be that someone like goes out of their way to get an IP like Skullgirls, and they know what it is, and the first thing they do is like, oh, well, we don't like the panties and the fan service. Like, fuck off. This is another problem that I disagree. Like, customers need to learn not to pre-order. Like, if you're on Steam, you can just get a refund, man. What is that shit? Like, this is not 2010. I know a lot of people find it controversial, but you can literally buy a game, and then you can refund it. Like, you're not... What exactly are you losing? Nothing. You play the game, you don't like it, you refund it. That's why I started with manga, and thanks for the support. It's a really good manga. You guys should check it out. I'll actually shill it when it goes live. Yandev was caught asking for nudes from an underage girl on Discord. Yikes. Why can't people help themselves, though? Like, why would you... How old was she, by the way? Like, how old are we talking about? Is she like 16? Or is she even younger than that? Majority of normies don't get refunds. What do you mean, like, majority of normies don't get refunds? Why? It's so fucking simple. You click two buttons. I'm actually curious. 12? Oh, 16. 15. Oh, that's fucked up. 16 is legal in most places, right? Like, it's legal in most of Europe. I think, like, it's legal in some American states. I like that Americans go like, oh, yeah, but legal doesn't mean moral. It's like, yeah, but, like, why should your American morality be influenced on the rest of the world? Like, why can't our morality influence you? In Romania right now it's 16, but the age difference needs to be of 5 years. But if she's like 15 or 13, then Jesus fucking Christ. That is disgusting. If she's like 12 to 13, like, there is no excuse. 14 is legal in Mexico. Well, is Yandere Dev from Mexico? If he is from Mexico, then, I mean, that's his culture, you know. Is definitely under 13? Then it's a big yikes. Fuck is wrong? I genuinely don't understand. Like, what can you even see in a person that's 13? Like what exactly do they... Ugh. 16 is driving. I think even here, but, like, you need the consent of the parents. It is illegal. It is solicitation of CP. Yeah, I think even in my country, actually, it's kind of interesting. Like, if you are 5 years older, then it's rape. But if you're like 4 years older than her, and she is 16, then you can actually have a relationship. But any type of picture would be considered 16. Would be considered CP. I was joking, Angel. Oh, it's not? It's not the age of consent 14 in Mexico? Yeah, there are not that many countries that have, like, the age of consent of 14. The only exceptions, I think, is, like, in Middle East. But even there, it's, like, arranged marriage and stuff. Like, it's not casual or anything like that. Still, it's... I mean, I don't agree with it, but I don't live there, so... Anyway, right. I think we should end it here, chat. Why is it that so many conversations on the internet end with the age of consent? But anyway, right. So I guess if Yandere Dev quits the industry, then there's a hole in the market. Maybe I should make my Sakubasus a little bit Yandere, huh? Anyway, right. Let me know what you guys think, and as usual, I will see you in the comment section. Take care.